brought you that very emotional news conference earlier with the children of some of those hostages taken by Hamas talking publicly to say that they felt they were in a luxurious position, as they said, to be even sitting and worrying about their elderly parents rather than fearing for their lives in the hands of the terror group.
Israel maintains that the siege of Gaza will not end until Israeli hostages are released. Well, we can now speak to Sharon Lifschitz, whose parents are being held by Hamas. Good afternoon, Sharon. We are so very grateful for you talking to us this afternoon on GB News. We understand that your father is 83 years old, your mother is 85 years old. How are you managing to get through every day, every hour, every minute as you wait for news?
I am trying to hold on to my community here in the UK and in Israel, to the community of people that were part of the kibbutz, and I'm trying to do everything I can to bring the hostages back home. This is all I'm doing. This is all I'm focusing my mind on, because it is so much now. It's happening, it's unfolding. We don't have time to bury the dead. We have to look after those that survived this massacre, and we have to advocate for the release of the hostages.
We heard from Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, who was speaking to Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said that the US was working to get the hostages released. Now, we know he's flying to Jordan, to Amman. He's likely to meet Mahmoud Abbas from the Palestinian Authority. Is it your hope that there will be pressure from within the Palestinian cause on Hamas to get the hostages released?
Absolutely. Absolutely, the Arab world should come together and help us release these innocent, elderly people, these women and children that are, and babies, and disabled people, and people that require medication. They must immediately be released. This is not a war, part of a war. This is about releasing these innocent people, getting them out of the equation. They have suffered enough. They need to come back home now so that we can look after them.
Sharon, when did you last hear from your parents? Did they tell you that there was something happening at the kibbutz on Saturday? Did they have time to make contact with you?
I did not speak to my parents at the time. My uncle spoke shortly before all contact was disconnected. My mom was asleep. She takes a medication that makes her drowsy in the morning. My father was telling my uncle that they are in the safe room. That's a room safe for missiles, and that he can hear the shooting and the shouting outside. So he was aware that there is an attack, but I don't think he expected it to be of this scale.
As you say, your parents need medication, but I understand that the other aspect of this is that your dad had helped Palestinians coming from Gaza to get medical treatment over the years at Israeli hospitals.
Yes. My father truly believed in our humanity, in our shared humanity, and what it means to be neighbors. And there is regimes and there's governments, and we can agree or disagree, but us as human beings, we never forgot that the children and mothers in Gaza suffer more than we do from the attacks and from the escalation of violence in the Middle East. And my father spent his life fighting for peace. And he, in his retirement, he just took a car every week, and through a local organization, Israeli organization, that helped Palestinians reach through Israel to the hospitals in East Jerusalem and in other parts of Israel. You know, there's a wish for the media to always betray us just as arch enemies, and that is a total reduction of our humanity. There are people on the other side. We have relationship with them. You know, I grew up with people from Gaza that worked with us. We used to know them. My brother employed people from Gaza that became very good friends. We have to remember that we have a shared humanity across all these tanks and all these weapons, and that we have to believe in that.
And just to touch again on what was discussed with Benjamin Netanyahu, this moment for moral clarity, that phrase used by him and by Antony Blinken. In that aspect, is it your hope too that perhaps the Palestinians within Gaza will now start to reassess the position of Hamas and what Hamas has done?
I don't know the position of the people of Gaza because they have been terrorized by a terrorist organization for many years. There's no voices of dissent coming from Gaza because they will be silenced. Let's be clear about that. Hamas is ISIS. Yeah, he is terrorizing their own people. Yeah, I don't know what they think, the people of Gaza, because they are bound to it. The people in the diaspora, they have families there. They, you know, any of us that have read anything in our life know how terrorist and dictatorship work.
Yeah.
So kind of expecting to know the opinion of the Palestinian people at this point, before Hamas was eradicated, is kind of, you know, a contradiction.
Yeah.
Sharon, I understand you grew up in the kibbutz where your parents were taken from. Can you tell us, when you were growing up, a very, very safe area? You felt safe, you felt secure.
You know, anybody working on the street of New York might not feel totally secure either, or Hackney or Sheffield. But we did feel secure, yes. We were used to being on a border, and, you know, in '87, after the first Intifada, we no longer went to visit the beaches in Gaza, and things have changed, but we did feel that the army was there protecting us.
And in terms of protecting the hostages, I gather some 95 families have now been contacted by the IDF to say that they believe the families or the individuals are being kept in Gaza itself. What are your thoughts on what may happen with a ground incursion? Should there be efforts to get the hostages out first?
Absolutely. My whole community is there. What can I say to you? My friend's daughter is there. My neighbor's 3 children are there. What am I going to tell you? No, let's go for it. Is it kind of like something like a game that in which I can kind of stand here and tell you that my friend's daughter is less important than my son?
But is that the calculation perhaps that Hamas have made?
I am not Hamas. I don't know their calculation. We can speculate about it, but I am here to remind you that there is only for my community, we know of more or less 80 people that are missing, presumed kidnapped. We have no knowledge of their whereabouts after that moment. They are the focus of all of this.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. There's no focus. I'm here, standing here with you today because I'm advocating for these missing people. I'm not here just for my parents. I'm here for my community. My community is destroyed by an act of violence so horrific, so utterly horrific, that we will spend the rest of our life coming to terms with it. But at this point, we are fighting for the life of members of our communities and neighboring communities that have gone through the most horrific act of destruction and violence and killing and torturing. And the list, you know, you think about the worst thing and they happen there. I know that for a fact, but I cannot change that. I can ask and beg every decent human being to bring about the release of these people at this very moment, now. This is what we can do now. We can try and act together, and I call on all the leaders of the Arab world, of the Western world, of China, I am begging for everyone to come together and bring back the safe return of these people.